What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. We're going to specifically compare Bitcoin to the DXY chart. For those of you who are unfamiliar, the DXY is the US dollar currency index, or at least that's how it's defined here. It's a basket full of other currencies compared to the US dollar. Essentially, when this chart's going up, the dollar is gaining strength. Whenever it's going down, the dollar is losing strength. Think of this as like the US dollar dominance chart, kind of, right? Like we have the BTC.D chart, the Bitcoin dominance by market cap. It's kind of like that, but for the DXY, for the US dollar. We're going to compare the DXY to BTC and see if we can come up with some conclusions, long-term and short-term, hopefully, based on that. So if that sounds good to you, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. Let's get into it. Merry Christmas, everybody. I know it's on the charts here for Bitcoin. It is the day after Christmas, but for me, it is still Christmas right now. We've got a little bit of time left in the day, but hold on. So it is right now, the DXY is reading at 108. This is not $108. It's just the 108. That's just the reading it is. I don't know what it's valued in, but that's the reading it has. We have been in an uptrend recently, and Bitcoin historically does not like to move up while the DXY moves up. And let's just illustrate that right now really quickly. So I want to look at this on a kind of more broad aspect. If we compare it here, compare the DXY to BTC, new price scale. We put it on a log scale, and then boom, there you go. You got it right there. So if we look at Bitcoin, you can see here, Bitcoin was moving up. During this phase where Bitcoin was moving up, the DXY was moving up for a little bit of time. And then the Bitcoin price, if we look at it, it really took off right here. Coincidentally, right where the top, if you see it here, I'll kind of zoom in if it helps. Right where the top of the DXY was, that's where Bitcoin started to really amp up, right? It was moving up in tandem with the DXY, so they can do that for a time. But then once the DXY sold off, Bitcoin took off. It really took off, right? We saw it move up like it hadn't moved, like just the fastest we've ever seen it move up, really, in that amount of time in its whole history, right whenever it sold off here. And then by the time the DXY bottomed out, Bitcoin was at its high. DXY starts to move up, Bitcoin's in its bear market, you know what I mean? And then still Bitcoin has another bull market here. The DXY kind of tops off, it stops moving up. We get to this low, and as we get to these low points, that's where the bull market tops off. Expanding here, we go through a bear market, right? Coincidentally, the bear market, this bear market here, if you look at it literally from the beginning here to the end of the bear market here, based just on this chart here, right? From the beginning to the end, that's literally right where the majority of this expansion move in the DXY was. And I want to take a moment and identify that, because I don't want to walk through every single example of this, but I want to take a moment and identify this expansion phase. Okay, there's an expansion phase here, no doubt, absolutely clear. There's an expansion phase there. I want to get rid of Bitcoin for a second. We'll bring it back in a second. But if we look at the chart for what it is, you found your low down here. Okay, found the bottom of this move down, and your very first move up, your first impulsive move up was here. Okay, then you consolidated for a very long amount of time. All right, then you had your next impulsive move up here, then you had your next impulsive move up here, right? But you consolidated for a long time here, you consolidated for a long time here, you had ups and downs in the midst of it, right? Ups and downs, but nothing compared to these expansive phases that we've seen, right? You've seen 3 since 2008, right? The beginning of 2008, we've seen 3. Okay, we're going to bring back Bitcoin now. In those 3 expansive phases, okay, so the very first one, Bitcoin didn't exist, so we don't really have a comparison to make. But what we do know is the bull market that existed didn't happen while we had an expansive phase, okay? The next bull cycle, the next bull cycle that we had here, the next expansive phase that we had for the DXY here did not happen in the bull cycle for Bitcoin. It actually was during most of the bear cycle. Only after the expansive phase in the DXY came to a halt and we started to consolidate, that's when Bitcoin started to turn around and move up again, of which, again, I think it's important to mention, when we saw the biggest drop in this consolidation phase was right here. Look at how strong Bitcoin's movement up was. Out of this whole consolidation phase, the strongest movement up happened to be here where the DXY moved down, and then here it moved down rather aggressively too, and look at how aggressive Bitcoin moved up too. Those 2 fast moving up paces happened after the DXY topped off, right? And again, if you look at this too, kind of similar to the very first bull market, this is important stuff. I hope people are liking this video so far. If you are, hit the like button, but I think this is really cool stuff, right? We're gonna detail and I think, really come to a solid conclusion by the end of this video, you guys, of what to expect over the coming days, weeks, and months, right? I know that it's uncertain. I know crypto this month of December hasn't been everything that we've expected it to be, but things are about to get really bullish. Okay, I want to before I got distracted, I want to get back to the topic that I was going to say, or the point that I was going to make, which is that when Bitcoin here, whenever it had its very fast move up, you can tell we were in this consolidation phase in the DXY, right? Mute this here. Consolidation phase in the DXY. After we had this first move up and then we moved down, we're moving up. The Bitcoin bull market has started. We're moving up together, okay? But then after that peak happens, the bull market really kicks off and we kick it into overdrive, right? Same thing happens here. Right here on this bull market, right? DXY is moving up in tandem with Bitcoin. We're moving up together, and then the DXY sells off, and then that's whenever Bitcoin really starts to grow here, right? And then the DXY sells off again right here, literally right here. We go all the way up. That's where the low was. As soon as the DXY sold off, that's when we saw a really strong phase in the bull market take place again. So just showing these little high points, these times where the DXY moves up together with Bitcoin. That's a really bullish kind of thing, because think of it as like building tension, right? The DXY and Bitcoin moving up together, Bitcoin's moving up while the DXY is moving up. That's hard for it to do. But then once the DXY tops off and it cools down, as Bitcoin's still in a bull market, it just allows, it's like this weight off of its shoulders, this pressure that's no longer there. It allows it to just surface or rise very fast. I don't know how to better explain it. I like to think of it as like if the DXY and Bitcoin are moving up together, it's like I have a ball underwater, right? A ball full of air, and I'm holding it underwater. But then once the DXY sells off, it's like I let go of that ball while it's underwater, and then you get this thing, it just explodes up, right? I'm getting distracted here. Let's keep going. So bull market here, first sign of the tip. Okay, the first time that the DXY tipped, it found a high, and then it rolls over. That's when we really kick things off in the first bull market. The next bull market here, the fast phases, the times where we really start to move up, happen after these tops in the DXY occur, right? In the bull market, the DXY and Bitcoin are moving up together at times, but Bitcoin really sees its expansive phases once the dominance or the DXY drops, right? DXY expands, Bitcoin bear market. DXY expands, Bitcoin bear market. But here's the thing, with the last bull cycle, we actually had the first bull cycle where the DXY was expanding, and we can see that here. Let me bring the Bitcoin price back on here. We can see that here, right? DXY starts to expand down here. I think that's the whole move. If we look at it for that, if we draw this line as straight up as we can, you can see Bitcoin ended its bull cycle before this expansion move happened. If the DXY, I theorize, and I theorized this for a long time, that if this expansion didn't come in the DXY, this move up for Bitcoin would have been a lot higher. I think we would have broken 100K last cycle, but we experienced high inflation in the world. The DXY itself was one of the lesser affected currencies by inflation. It was still heavily impacted, but there were a lot of currencies that were impacted more, and we saw the dollar gain strength for this reason. I think that held back the price of Bitcoin, right? Whenever the DXY goes up, Bitcoin has a hard time doing these really strong moves. And you'll notice this strong move, the cycle ending finish that we had last cycle, this move here, it happened when the DXY was moving down, right? Not before. Whenever it's moving up, they moved up together a little bit for a short amount of time, but this expansive move, again, these expansive moves tend to trigger bear markets, okay? So the question at hand right now, some of you might be asking or wondering is, and justly so, when is the next expansive move in the DXY going to happen? And the answer to that is, we don't know. You never know, of course. But if we maybe look at this on a weekly basis, continue to look at it there. If we look at this for what it is, the DXY, the dollar, I think we can actually mute Bitcoin here. Bottomed out here. We had our first impulsive move up. Okay, so I would say that this expansion, this move up, stopped here. And then we consolidated all the way up until here where our next expansive phase happened. And maybe it'd be better to draw it to like here where it really started. So something like 294 weeks of consolidation, okay? Then we expanded again, and I would say that that expansive move probably stopped here at this high. Then we consolidated. Yes, we still went higher at times, but we weren't. This move up is not the same as what we did to get up here, right? That's an expansive move. This is an expansive move. So consolidated for a very long amount of time. We started our next move right down here. So 322 bars, 294 bars on a weekly basis. I mean, that's about what, like 30 bars difference, essentially. 30 weeks difference. That's not super close, but it's not super far. That is a pretty, I feel like, good range to have there. If we go to this next expansive phase, regardless, we look at this from the top, we get that top week, if I can, there we go, top week to where we are now. You can see that we are at about 117 weeks. So again, the question I'm answering here is, how long do we have until we see this next expansive phase, right? We expanded here in the DXY, expanded here, and expanded here. And then we have consolidation phases in between. How long is this one going to last? Well, I don't know, but 117 weeks versus 322, that's not even halfway, versus 294, that's not even halfway. I would think personally that this bull cycle for Bitcoin has no strong chance or likelihood of the DXY seeing an expansive phase, right? Again, of course, we can move up during a bull cycle. We can move up during a consolidation phase, right? And of which I think we are in a consolidation phase now. And we're moving up now. But if you remember the whole beginning of this video, there were times, and this is where we'll bring Bitcoin back, there were times where in these consolidation phases, Bitcoin and the DXY moved up together, right? And then at the top of the DXY, right when the DXY sold off, that's when Bitcoin moved up at the fastest rate we'd ever seen it, at the fastest rate in the bull cycle, right? You see it comes up here, the DXY comes up here. Bitcoin during this time, it actually stalled right here. And then when it starts to move up again, you guessed it, that was right whenever the top happened, right when the DXY starts to move down again, right? And then, we see that the main point I'm trying to make is first initial move up in the bull cycle, first initial peak, sold off, then we really kick things off. Okay, first initial move up in the bull cycle. Once we had that peak and we really sold off, we got that real big sell-off like we did last time, that's when the bull cycle really kicked off. It was nice here. It was moving at a slow pace, but this bit here was dramatically faster than anything else we saw in the bull cycle, and that was all ignited by the DXY selling off. We had to move up first in tandem with Bitcoin and the DXY moving up together before we got this sell-off, all right? We're about to get to the big point, I promise you. Okay. Last cycle we had this high was kind of our big topping point in the DXY. Bitcoin did move up with the DXY for a time, but then it was really moving down while the DXY was moving up. And then, in fact, its low point here, the COVID crash, was at the high, the relative high for the DXY. And of course, the most bullish part of this bull cycle, if this overall thing was the bull cycle last time, and I think it was, the most bullish aspect happened once the DXY sold off. Okay, here we are in our current bull market, current Bitcoin bull market right now. We've been consolidating for quite some time. We moved up a little bit here, right? And the DXY was moving down, right? That was the end of the bear market, essentially, when the DXY topped off here, moving up a little bit. And now the DXY here and Bitcoin are moving up together. DXY moves down, sells off, and then that's whenever we make a run to new all-time highs, right? Then the DXY starts to move up a little bit. We're consolidating, whatever. DXY sells off. That's actually, let's see, when did the DXY sell off here? The DXY sold off here. And to be fair, we didn't really run, right? We didn't really run. But again, comparing this sell-off here is not the same as comparing this sell-off or this sell-off when we really saw the strong moves of each cycle come into play. What we're about to see, what I'm theorizing, is that the DXY now, with this high, the highest high it's seen through this whole consolidation phase, and this move up that we've had in tandem with Bitcoin, it seems a lot like a lot of the moves that we've seen Bitcoin have right before the DXY dumps, and then Bitcoin really shows the most strength that we've seen in the cycle. That's the kind of grandiose point that I've been trying to get to this whole last little bit of the video here. Not the whole video, but just this last bit of the video. Maybe the whole video, I don't know, but the whole point is the DXY has been moving up with BTC. We've been moving up with BTC since September, right? and we're at the highest points in this consolidation range for the DXY that we've been this whole cycle. My thoughts are we're about to go through one of these massive dump phases for the DXY, something larger than we've seen throughout this whole bull cycle so far. And while we are in this expansive phase in Bitcoin itself, with a dump phase coming in potentially with the DXY, that could really cascade the price for Bitcoin up a lot higher. Okay, I hope that all makes sense. I want to get rid of Bitcoin here, and then we'll come back. We'll look at the Bitcoin chart in a second, but I want to look at the DXY chart just for what it's worth. We look at the weekly RSI here on the DXY. First off, we take a high to a low fib, and we can see that the DXY right now is right at its golden ratio. The top of this is literally right at the 618, the golden ratio of this overall high to low fib that we have here. Okay. Not only that, but if we take a relative high to low here, I would bet you've got some significance there. Look at that, your 1272, you've kind of got a double top going on. Not only that, and that's bearish, right? This kind of look right now, unless you can get a week to close above the 1272, this could be a bearish look, because what you've done is you hit the 1272 here, found support at the 886, you need to progress higher. If you don't progress higher, likely you will go below the 886, and a move like this would likely cascade. This would set off a chain of events that would lead you to one of these downward sloping moves, but I think it would be a lot bigger, right? I think it would take you all the way down to these same areas, but you're coming up from higher areas, so it might be a lot bigger, it might be at a lot faster of a velocity. You could even go lower than any of these lows, right? But all I'm trying to say is if the DXY doesn't get above the 1272, likely you would see a low below this low, and a move like that again would likely cascade you all the way down here, which could propel Bitcoin up over the months to come, and we're expecting that, right? But aside from the fibs, aside from that, if you look at the RSI, the weekly RSI here, you've got a high and a lower high with a high and a higher high. That is bearish divergence at the golden ratio, at previous areas of resistance here and support here, at the relative high to low 1272, double topping there. It's all very much set up for a top here. Okay, it very much is. We'll see. We'll just have to wait and see, you know. But I think that we will turn around if my thoughts are correct, if my theories are correct. The DXY could still go up a little bit higher. We could see it go to 108, or 108.8 to a 109.8 read. I don't know why I can't talk. I'm sorry for that. We could see it go up a little bit higher. It's very possible. But any day now, any week now, I would expect a turnaround. So if it's not this week, it's next week. If it's not next week, it's the week after. But very soon, we're going to see this commence, and that will likely cascade Bitcoin to much higher prices is my thought. We're at 98K now. The expectation for Bitcoin by the end of January is something above 123K, potentially as high as 142K. 98K to 130K, 140K, 120K. That's a pretty big move. With that kind of move coming into effect, we just might see the DXY sell off. That's kind of my assumption. So I don't know, guys. I don't really think I have anything else that I want to say. We can look at the ribbon real quick. Weekly ribbon is crossed up, but with all this chop, it's not really to be respected, right? The last time that you crossed up, as soon as you crossed up, that was basically the top. As soon as you crossed up here, it wasn't the top, but it wasn't long-lived. You know, you just crossed here. I'm not assuming too much off of this personally. Daily ribbon, a little bit more. The daily looks a little bit bullish, to be fair. 3-day ribbon also looks bullish. What about the monthly? Monthly's bullish as hell, actually. But we're getting a little bit of a ways away from it. I don't know. Didn't really tell us much with the ribbon. That's okay. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for you. If you like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I very much do believe that the DXY is about to drop pretty damn hard versus Bitcoin, and that's gonna propel us higher. It's gonna take us to these targets that we're looking for. So take care. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.